Shadow Climate Change Secretary Ed Miliband is with us. He's got a point, hasn't he? I mean, why would he not go and meet with the RAF if there's war in Europe?
I mean, he's a guy who's checked out, isn't he? I mean, he's sort of, he's in a sulk, I think. I mean, the idea, we've had these Cobra emergency meetings about the heat wave. The idea that any previous Prime Minister, and I include Tory Conservative Prime Ministers in this, would, at a time of potential national emergency, be just absent. I mean, it just seems absolutely bizarre.
But the Cobra meeting reports to Cabinet is what we're being told by the Transport Secretary this morning.
I mean, look, I was close to Gordon Brown when I was in government. I remember we had all kinds of, just when he took over, we had floods, we had, Gordon was right there. The authority of the Prime Minister matters in these things. I mean, look, in a way, he's on his way out, but he's sort of carried on. It's the kind of cavalier approach we've seen while he's been Prime Minister,
But I would have thought that Labour would be pleased that he wasn't getting involved. Keep him out of the way.
I think whoever the Prime Minister is, there's something about having the authority of the Prime Minister to take this seriously as an issue. But look, it is what it is. He's gone, or he's going.
Yeah. Record temperatures expected today. This could be the new normal, is what we're being told. Why aren't Labour putting more pressure on the government?
Well, I am. That's why I'm here. Look, it's very serious. The new normal is exactly the right way to describe it. It's just worth saying to your viewers, the planet is hotter than it's been for 125,000 years. We've got 1 degree of warming so far, but I don't want to be a doom monger, but we're going to get more than 1 degree of warming, that's the average, and that will mean more extreme heat, potentially higher than 39, 40 degrees that we're seeing, and we are not ready as a country. We are not ready on this at all, not by a long shot. Our infrastructure isn't ready. In fact, we don't even know whether our infrastructure is resilient. Believe it or not, Kay, the process of testing whether our infrastructure is resilient is voluntary at the moment. It's not mandatory. We don't have maximum workplace temperatures that other countries have to keep workers safe, and 20% of existing homes are at risk of overheating, and the government's doing nothing about it. And the committee that looks at these things, which I set up when I was in government, has said the government has just ignored repeated warnings from them. So we've got to get serious about resilience.
The Met Office just telling us that it does look as though it was the hottest temperature ever overnight last night. As night follows day, let's find out what happens later on today. But Jeremy Corbyn pledged to meet net zero by 2030. So Keir Starmer's sort of rode back on that.
Well, in the manifesto, Jeremy Corbyn said we'd have the substantial majority of our emissions taken away, reduced by 2030, and that's still our position. And look, we've made a big commitment, Labour under Keir Starmer, which is to invest £28 billion a year in the green energy we need, in the energy efficiency we need. And I think this energy efficiency thing is really interesting. We've got 19 million cold, drafty homes, at least that's how I normally talk about them, that could do with energy efficiency. We want to help householders do that. They're not just cold and drafty, they're at risk of overheating as well. And we've got to tackle both ends of this. And I'm afraid when you look at the Tory leadership election, Kay, and I'm sorry they're not going to be debating with you tonight. They're running scared. They're running scared of Kay Burley. But what you've seen over them, you've got extreme heat wave. We know the climate challenge. We had COP26 last year. What are they doing? They're not running towards net zero. They're running away from it. I mean, what an unserious party that is running away from a climate commitment. David Cameron was my opponent for 5 years, but to be fair to him, he did convert the Conservative Party, push the Conservative Party to adopt the green agenda, and now we've got candidates, when we know much more about it, running away from it. It's shameful, frankly.
So you would keep the green levy even though families are struggling to cope?
Well, what I would not do is say we're going to abolish the green levies without a replacement. There's a legitimate debate about whether it can be funded from public expenditure or taxation, but if you're going to say that, you've got to say where the money's coming from. And these Tory candidates are not doing that. And if you want to know why have energy bills gone up, it's not the green levies, Kay. The green levies are 150 quid, that's important, but they're at pretty stable levels. It's actually that fossil fuel prices have gone up, and what should we be doing in relation to that? We should be driving hell for leather for solar power, onshore wind, offshore wind, all of the renewable energy, nuclear power, and we're not doing that. And yesterday, to top it all off, the High Court found the government's net zero strategy unlawful because it's so useless. And look, that is where we are.
Even if you took power in 2024, you'd still only have 6 years to try to reach your 2030
Yeah, and
target.
it will be an absolute sprint. Every part of government. And actually, this is the reason I'm still in politics, Kay. I'm still in politics because of this issue. You know, frontline politics, there are many harder jobs, but frontline politics, as you know, because we've known each other over the years, has a lot of challenges. But I'm still at this because, you know, David Attenborough says, the next few years will determine the next few thousand years. You know, there can be no more important issue. I feel privileged to be in charge of this issue for Labour, and I'm desperate to get into government to tackle it.
Alok Sharma threatened to quit as president of COP26 if any of the Tory leadership candidates drop.
Yeah, and I congratulated him by text. I'll let you into a secret. Because it's really good that he did that.
But what will happen to our presidency if he does do that? What does that say to the rest of the world?
Well, it's terrible. But, I mean, you've got a party a Conservative Party that's lost touch with reality. I mean, what is this leadership contest? It's depressing, frankly. They're my opponents, but it's depressing. Because one of the things we've prided ourselves on in this country, not like America, is, OK, we haven't got a consensus about how we tackle climate change or the speed, but we've got a consensus about tackling it. And you've got these candidates all wanting to sort of, you know, compete with each other to say, oh, well, I'm not, you know, I'm suspicious about this, I'm suspicious about that. That is the wrong way to go. We should be all in on tackling this climate emergency for now, for the future, to tackle the cost of living crisis and to create good jobs in our country.
You've obviously looked at what they've all been saying about it. I mean, 2 years before you guys get an opportunity to potentially run the country, who at the moment of the remaining 4 do you think would do the best job at trying to save the planet?
I mean, honestly, I think they're all really...
Well,
I don't really have it. I mean, look...
Rishi Sunak has said that he wants to...
Well, let me go through them. You've got Kemi Badenoch. She says that tackling net zero is unilateral economic disarmament. Well, that's nonsense.
She's changed her tune on that.
Well, OK, great. But
overnight.
I mean, you've got to take, you know, first answer. You know what I mean? You've got to see what she said first of all. Rishi Sunak has dragged his feet in the Treasury on investing in the green agenda, on energy efficiency. You've got other people in government deeply frustrated with him. Who else have you got left? You've got Liz Truss. She says fracking is the answer. And Penny Mordaunt, who says that green levies are the main problem. You know, this is illiteracy. This is climate illiteracy from this party. And honestly, I don't say that just because they're my opponents. I wouldn't have said that about David Cameron. Now, he said cut the green C word, but, you know, at least at the beginning, he was interested in dealing with this. It's bad what is going on, and it's bad for the country.
OK, it's good to see you as always. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.